Hi, I wanted to give you three specific tips for healthy nutrition and specifically for heart healthy nutrition. And the first tip is the idea of considering the nutritional changes that you're making as lifestyle changes instead of like temporary things that you're going to do to lose weight or get your numbers down and you're kind of chomping at the bit to get back to the way you were eating. It's a long game, it's not a short game, and if you switch your perspective or your mindset to it being a lifestyle change, then it's a little bit easier to like walk forward with it and live with it and let it weave into your life as a lifestyle change instead of this sort of resistance and okay, I'm going to do this for a while but I don't really like it and I can't wait to get back to the way I normally do it. Honestly, it is a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning. It's wobbly until it becomes more familiar, and and you realize that it makes you feel better, so you're more inspired to do it. You also get better at, for example, preparing meals or figuring out how what you're going to do when you're not home or when you're traveling. But that does take some practice and some discovery and some trial and error. So if you have the long game perspective, if you have the lifestyle perspective, then it's a little bit easier to pick yourself back up if you happen to trip, like if you're out traveling or out to dinner or something like that, as an example. So that is my first idea or tip for you to consider when you're thinking about your nutrition in the big picture way. And the second tip is the mind uh, really is rebellious and throws fits around something being taken away from her. It's a lot easier, and I've discovered this, and it works over the years. I've discovered if you, rather than take something away, replace the thing that you're going to not be doing anymore with something else. So it feels like the mind is discovering something different rather than resisting and rebelling against something being taken away. So sugar is a big one. That's the one that I've sort of had a lifelong struggle with, and it seems to be in a good in a good groove right now, or has been for a number of years. Kind of like any addiction, because sugar is a highly addictive. I don't even know if I want to call it a food. Let's just call it a substance. It actually lights up the same place in the brain as heroin and cocaine. That's how addictive it is. So, what I've learned to do over the years is make myself, like I make these cacao powder brownies with stevia instead of sugar, and some smashed banana. And you can always let me know if you'd like that recipe. I'm happy to pass it along. But if I have those, I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything. I don't feel like I'm deprived of what I used to eat as real cookies. And I have no control over that. Like if I can't just eat one or two cookies. Maybe you can, but I can't. It usually ends up being all that's available because they're so addictive and good. And so those are just some of the things. I also will have a piece of fruit after a meal. Now, some people say, "Oh, you shouldn't eat fruit on a full stomach," but honestly, if I eat an apple after I have dinner, or maybe some raisins and some nuts, I would rather manage that in my digestive system than the sugar that I would otherwise eat without it being replaced with something more healthful. And I no longer feel deprived. So that's just one example. There's other things too. Maybe it's a processed food thing, or it's a chip thing, or anything that's processed. I love what Michael Pollan says. He's a journalist who's written a number of books now, and a number of books that happen to be on nutrition because he's done a lot of research and journalistic discovery from that research that helps us understand what a human body needs. And one of his really cool quotes that I love, I actually quote him in my book, Reverse Heart Disease Naturally. And his quote is, oh no, now I'm forgetting it. Eat real food, mostly plants, not too much. So, and that's, I find I follow that. I happen to be plant-based, so that is, one of the more heart healthy nutritional choices. And then if it's real and whole food that one is eating, you're getting the life force from the mother. And that's what a human body needs, is life force. If we eat dead food that's processed, it's not going to convert into the same level of life force. We might be able to extract some vitamins and minerals out of it, but the life force is no longer available to us if the food is dead. Whereas if we eat food that's alive and whole and has the least amount of processing since it left the earth, or the ground, was pulled from the ground, or however, picked off the tree, then we're going to have that life force available to us. And that matters in whole body health, and very much matters in heart health. So so far we've talked about, our first tip is think of it as a long game, as a lifestyle, instead of just a short-term thing, and then you want to go back to having the mind thinking it's going to go back to the way things used to be. And then the second tip is, rather than deprive and take something away from this is really a mind thing, think about what you can replace it with. And sometimes that requires you to be in inquiry about that for a while. Like, I might be in inquiry for a few weeks where I'm like, well, what can I have instead? Diet Coke used to be a problem. What can I have instead of Diet Coke? And I wouldn't strong arm myself to be giving up Diet Coke. And the reason I don't do that, or didn't do that anymore, is because I had done that so many times. I realized it doesn't work. You might have discovered that yourself. But then in that inquiry, what can I have instead that would be maybe not in the very beginning, but in the long term, equally as inspiring and exciting for me to reach for, instead of the Diet Coke? And I found my way with that. And you will too, on any given food or drink aspect of your life that you're really trying to upgrade, up level, upshift, that kind of thing. And then the third tip I have is, I'm looking at my notes here because I want to make sure I remember what my third tip was. The third tip is that you listen to your body. We never were taught to do that, and so we don't have a muscle built or a habit built in terms of listening to our body. We mostly take our cues from our mind, and honestly, our mind doesn't have the whole picture. Our mind doesn't have the full scope of wisdom and intelligence that lives in every cell of our body. In every cell of our body, there are trillions of atoms, we have trillions of cells, and there's a lot of wisdom, intelligence, and guidance in our body. So if you take a moment to, I for some reason I always put my hands on my heart. If I take a moment and just listen in while I'm asking, is this the thing that my body wants right now? Is this the thing that's going to give me the most nourishment, energy, feeling of vitality, clarity in my mind? And now I don't always get the right clear answer, but the more I do it and the more I practice, the more I do get that. So I highly recommend that you include the wisdom and intelligence that lives in every cell of your body as you're making your decisions and choices about which foods are best for you. There's a resonance, there's a guidance. Like, if you just go into the grocery store and stand in the middle of, let's say, the produce aisle, you might learn over time, maybe right away, maybe it takes a few times, where you'll start sensing the foods that actually your system is most attracted to and most resonant with. And I guarantee you, if you stand in the middle of let's say the I don't know, the candy aisle, and you feel into your body, you're not going to get much match. So your mind will say, oh my God, I want that candy bar because I know how good it tastes and how much I would want it, that taste on my mouth. But that's not the same thing as feeling into your body, dropping into your body. You can drop into your body by placing your hands on your heart. You can place it on your lower belly. Those are lowering, that puts your awareness lower inside your body and takes it away from it only being in your mind. So where we touch, our awareness tends to go. You can wiggle your toes. If you feel like it's too weird to stand in the grocery store that way and put your hands on, just wiggle your toes, and it doesn't look too weird to just go like this, and in the produce section, and notice, start teaching yourself a connection with your inner wisdom, with your inner intelligence. And it may come to you overnight. It may take, more practice, and that's okay. You have the rest of your life to play with this. So go play with those tips. And my question for you in this video conversation is, what are some of the most, what are the one or two most challenging aspects to your nutrition? And if you put it in the comments section, then maybe I can toss out some thoughts that you can play with, or toss around some inquiries that you can have in your own heart that will lead you to solutions rather than you're staying stuck in the challenge or the problem. Okay, so have a delicious day. And let me know if you have any questions on this topic, because I know it can be sticky, and I'll look forward to hearing what your thoughts and comments are. So, Lori Morse signing off, the author of Reverse Your Heart Disease Naturally, and I am a stand for creating a healthy heart.